This is my first time going live on Twitch. Okay, so we're doing this simultaneously. YouTube, X, formerly known as Twitter, and of course Twitch. And you can find me on all the social media platforms. I guess I should introduce and say who I am. I'm Daryl J. Bennett. I'm a internationally known motivational speaker. I'm a transformational coach. I'm a best-selling author. I've helped people through their worst moments. I've helped people discover the power that's on the inside of them, and my own life story through struggle, through prison, through catastrophe, crises, losing everything and having to rebuild. Still here I stand. All right. Anyway, enough about me. Let's get into what we want to talk about today. Today, I want to introduce you to Bob Proctor. I thought deeply about how I wanted to leverage Twitch and leverage these live streaming sites. And I think the way that I want to use it, especially in the beginning, is to introduce you. Maybe it's presenting to you. Maybe it's not introducing, but for many of you, it probably would be an introduction, introducing you to some of the great masterminds that I like to listen to and learn from. I absolutely believe that the key to getting to unlocking the greatness that's on the inside of you is to listen to people who have the blueprint. Your life is a reflection of the voices you've listened to. So today we are going to listen to a phenomenal person. Bob Proctor is one of the greats in the area of personal empowerment, development, growth, leadership, discovering yourself, a whole bunch of other stuff. The man's amazing. So we're going to watch together his Frequency of Money seminar. I thought this was a good way for me to break the seal on the channel, on my channel at least, with Twitch. So thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Please share this with somebody. And stay tuned, because there's going to be a lot of amazing things that are happening. All right, let's get right to it. I need to watch this again. It's just going to be just a blessing for me to see too. So, yeah, bear with me because I'm still learning how to work this.
To multiply your income, to start the business that you're dreaming about. Well, the answer is absolutely. I was talking to Sandy Gallagher, my business partner, about this, and she said she thought it was a shame that there were so many people with phenomenal potential that put themselves in a position where they couldn't move ahead without somebody else's permission, and their income is stuck where it is and they couldn't change it. You see, Sandy Gallagher, my business partner, and myself, we're both true entrepreneurs. We believe in being in charge of our own future, being in charge of our own income. We want to decide what we want to earn. We don't want to wait for somebody else to decide on that. And I was thinking in the middle of the night, I think probably the conversation I had with Sandy kept playing on my mind, and I was half awake, and then I'd wake up, and I was going through this, and I thought I'd share with you the process that I went through to make the change. It's not an easy one. It's not an easy thing to change. So let's look here for a moment. We're talking here about the money frequency. Now, you could think that the money frequency is something that's hidden somewhere, and only the lucky people find it. And of course, that's not the case. Anyone can connect with the money frequency, and you do it inside yourself. as you alter your own consciousness, as you alter your own perception of life, as you alter the way you see things and take control, you can connect with the money frequency. When you do, it's like Napoleon Hill pointed out in his book. He said, when money starts coming, it'll come so fast and furious, you're going to wonder where it was hiding through all those lean years.
Okay, hold up. He's saying a lot, y'all. He's saying a lot. You get a chance, you need to read the book he has in his hand, Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill. It's probably one of the best-selling books of all time. Now, this man, Bob Proctor, I don't know if he shares his story in this video, actually. I don't think he shares his story in this video. But part of the story is that he spent a lot of his early years just never having money, always being in debt, always struggling, always being without. All right. Who is calling me? Chill, bro. It's like soon as you're involved in something serious. Anyway, so I'm locked in with this right now because this is the most important thing happening right now. He talks about the fact that he made this change in his life, I think in his early 30s or late 20s. I don't know. Somewhere around that time. And this is when he started this journey toward discovering himself and becoming, more expansive. I'm only bringing this up because he said something I've never heard anybody ever say, ever. He says that he's read the same book every day for 60 years, and that's the book he has in his hand, Think and Grow Rich. I've never heard of anybody reading one book and maybe unless it's the Bible, but he says that he reads passages from this book every single day. It's really quite remarkable. But if you haven't read that book, you need to read it.
And that is because you've connected with the laws of the universe. Now, when Ray gave me this book, and he said, if you will read this every day and do exactly as I tell you. I had never done what anybody told me up to that point in my life. I was 26, and I was going to just do everything my way, but my way wasn't working. In fact, my way was not working at all. I was in bad shape. I was broke. I was unhappy. I was sick. I just couldn't make it happen. And when Ray put this R down and started to talk to me about it, he spoke with such absolute conviction that I think he twisted something in my head and got me to look at life a little different. Then he asked me, he said, do you ever read anything? I said, no.
Okay, he's actually telling his story now, y'all. So tune in. Listen to how Ray helped change this man's life 60 years ago.
And he asked me about what my income was. And I told him it was $4,000 a year. But I owed $6,000. And that's when he asked me, do you ever read anything? And I told him I couldn't read. Now, that was just my way of saying that I don't read, because I could read. There's a lot of people that can't read. The ones that don't are no better off than the ones that can't. I learned that. And he said, start reading this book. Just open it anywhere and read it. Read it from the front to the back. Get the whole drift of what he's talking about. And never put it down. Just keep reading.
There's a little known trend attracting millions of dollars a day right now called audible uploads. Audible.
You see, there's so much wisdom in this book. It's the essence of Napoleon Hill studying and interviewing over 500 of the world's most successful individuals.
Y'all, the story of how Napoleon Hill came to his understanding is amazing. It's amazing. You know what? Give me 60 seconds and I'll tell a story really quick. The story goes, Napoleon Hill, I believe it was in the early 1920s. He got a newspaper assignment. He was working for a newspaper. He got an assignment from one of the producers or editors or whatever that said that they were going to, let me get this right. They were going to interview the wealthiest people of the time. And he got the assignment to interview Andrew Carnegie, who at the time was, I think, the wealthiest man in the country or something like that. He was up there. So this is now Napoleon Hill's story. Napoleon Hill shares how he went to go to interview Andrew Carnegie. The interview was supposed to last for 60 minutes. And Andrew Carnegie talked to him for like an hour. And at the end of the hour, Andrew Carnegie said, why don't you come to my home and spend more time with me? And Napoleon Hill was like, yeah, why not? He talks about the fact that he didn't have money to get back to his house anyway. So that kind of worked out for him. So he goes and spends the rest of the evening with Andrew Carnegie. And Andrew Carnegie says at the end of the evening, I've been waiting for someone like you. It's been so much that I've learned along the way, and I wanted to pour it into someone pretty much. If I taught you something, would you share it with the world? But you may not make any money off of it for 10 or 20 years because you just might be learning. But will you be willing to take the time to learn and then share this with the world? Now, Napoleon Hill has posed this question. He's telling the story many, many years later. He says what he did not know is that Andrew Carnegie, when he asked the question, under his desk, he had a stopwatch that he had clicked when he asked Napoleon Hill the question. Napoleon Hill answered the question immediately and said, yes, I want to learn. And that was the beginning of him basically coming under the tutelage of Andrew Carnegie. And he ends up writing this book that, like I said, is one of the most best-selling books of all time. It's probably credited with making more millionaires than any other book in the world. Of course, I'm excluding the Bible here. I'm just talking about books that have been written in our time. And it all began with a 15-minute interview assignment that turned into an entire evening, that turned into a mentorship that he now took to the world. What was the point? And I brought up the thing about the stopwatch and him asking the question. Andrew Carnegie later said that if it took him too long to answer the question, he would have taken that as a no, even if he said yes. All right, because Andrew Carnegie said he was looking for someone who was eager to learn and regardless of the money, just wanted to share this with the world. So it's powerful when we talk about the fact that when you are focused on an intention, how the world will rearrange itself so that way you can come into what it is that you're looking for. So he learned this from Andrew Carnegie. He learned this from Napoleon Hill. So you see how it goes. Andrew Carnegie learned it from someone. It was passed to Napoleon Hill. Napoleon Hill passed this on to Bob Proctor.
I started to read it. And, of course, everything started to change. Now, I had written a goal card that I wanted to earn $25,000. If you have a goal, write it on a card, put it in your pocket.
Did y'all catch that? I promise I'm not going to keep pausing up. If you have a goal, write it down and put it in your pocket. Thank you, Bob.
Every time you touch the card, you trigger it in your mind.
Trigger it in your mind, yeah. I got you, sir.
I had no idea how I was going to make it.
I'm going to go write my goal again. I'll be back.
You know that was the right thing to do, though. When you don't know how to make it, write it on a card. You have no idea how you're going to do it. I didn't. He said, never mind. He said, things will happen. Well, things started to happen. I was reading this card, and what it actually did, it caused me to start to think of earning money. Rosh pointed out something yesterday. He pointed out that he was always looking at his present results. And his present results just weren't making it.
What'd I miss?
I got him to look at the results he wanted. not the results he was getting. Now, you may be looking at your present results and letting that control you. It's the wrong thing to do. Look at the results you want. Well, at any rate, now think of this. At the end of the first year of me working with him, I was earning $175,000 a year. I mean, the change was so incredible, and I had no idea of how I did it. In under 5 years, it was over $1 million. We had offices in a number of different cities, and we opened one in England. And we did it in England because I always wanted to go and live in England. I don't know why, but I did live there for a year. Now, it was one day, I was earning all this money, and I would go down to the Playboy Club. I mentioned this before. It was on Park Lane, right beside the London Hilton. And I'd go into Playboy and I'd play roulette. And you know, I won a lot more often than I lost. And I think it was because I was expecting to. But at any rate, one day I come out and I was walking away from the Playboy Club, and something happened inside of me. And I started to think that I was being totally irresponsible. Now, I wasn't very old. I was probably 27, maybe 28, 30, something like that. And it wouldn't leave my mind. And then I started to think, how did I change? How did my life change so much? Because 4 or 5 years is a relatively short period of time when you're moving at a pretty fast clip. And I'm thinking, what happened? I know I'm not that smart. I didn't think I was very smart. But yet I had offices in Toronto, Montreal, Boston, Cleveland, Atlanta, and London. And I had money coming in from all these cities. And I couldn't figure it out. I made up my mind then that I was going to figure out what the hell happened to Bob. And because that's what I wanted to figure out, that's the answer I got. Now look here for a moment. I want you to listen really carefully to this.
Oh, we're about to hear an Earl
I'd like to tell you
Nightingale.
about the strangest secret in the world. Some years ago, the late Nobel Prize-winning Dr. Albert Schweitzer was being interviewed in London, and a reporter asked him, "Doctor, what's wrong with men today?" And the great doctor was silent a moment, and then he said, "Men simply don't think." It's about this that I want to talk with you. We live today in a golden age. This is an era that man has looked forward to, dreamed of, and worked toward for thousands of years. But since it's here, we pretty well take it for granted. We in America are particularly fortunate to live in the richest land that ever existed on the face of the earth, a land of abundant opportunity for everyone. But do you know what happens? Well, let's take 100 men who start even at the age of 25. Do you have any idea what will happen to those men by the time they're 65? These 100 men who all start even at the age of 25 believe they're going to be successful. If you ask any one of these men if he wanted to be a success, he'd tell you he did. And you'd notice that he was eager toward life, that there was a certain sparkle to his eye, an erectness to his carriage, and life seemed like a pretty interesting adventure to him. But by the time they're 65, 1 will be rich. 4 will be financially independent. 5 will still be working. 54 will be broke. Now think a moment. Out
Wait
of the
a minute,
100,
hold on,
only
hold on,
5
hold
make
on,
the grade.
hold on. We
Now
can't-
why do so many fail? What has happened to the sparkle that was...
No, we need to hear that again. That's kind of deep. Wait a minute. What did he say?
It's about this that I want to talk with you. We live today in a golden age. This is an era that man has looked forward to, dreamed of, and worked toward for thousands of years. But since it's here, we pretty well take it for granted. We in America are particularly fortunate to live in the richest land that ever existed on the face of the earth, a land of abundant opportunity for everyone. But do you know what happens? Well, let's take 100 men who start even at the age of 25.
Hold on, check this out. He's going to break this down. Out of 100 people, statistically, this is the breakdown.
Have any idea what will happen to those men by the time they're 65? These 100 men who all start even at the age of 25 believe they're going to be successful. If you ask any one of these men if he wanted to be a success, he'd tell you he did. And you'd notice that he was eager toward life, that there was a certain sparkle to his eye, an erectness to his carriage, and life seemed like a pretty interesting adventure to him. But by the time they're 65, 1 will be rich. 4 will be financially independent.
1 rich, 4 financially independent.
5 will still be working.
5 working.
54 will be broke. Now think a moment. Out of the 100, only 5 make the grade. Now why do so many fail? What has happened to the sparkle that was there when they were 25?
Why do I feel like that didn't add up to 100? I don't want to play it back. I might be missing something, y'all. Math is not necessarily my strong point. But I did hear 1 rich, 4 working. 4 independent. 5 working. 54. Maybe the rest aren't with us anymore. I don't know. But the point is, 1 out of 100 rich. That's the question. What does it mean to be rich? But we're going to get to that.
Become of the dreams, the hopes, the plans. And why is there such a large disparity between what these men intended to do and what they actually accomplished?
Yeah.
When we say about 5% achieve success, we have to define success. And here's the best definition I've ever been able to find. Success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal.
Now, that's something you ought to burn into your mind. Success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. You could be a student in school with a C and D average, and you're working toward an A and B, and you're progressively moving in that direction. You're a successful person. You could be a person that has an estate of maybe 5 million, and you're working towards 10 million. And you're progressively moving in that direction. That's a successful person. Each one as successful as the other. It has nothing to do with the end. It has to do with the direction we're moving in. Well, I was listening to this recording. Here I am. I'm trying to figure out what happened.
Hold on, Bob. Sorry about that. I need to just pick up something he said. It's not the end. It's the direction you're moving. It's the direction you're moving. Are you moving in the direction? This is good. Thank you, sir.
Why did Bob change? And I couldn't figure it out. I was listening to this every day. Every day I'd listen to this recording. I had a number of them. And I was playing these recordings all the time. And I couldn't figure out what was happening. Now I want you to look at this for a moment. There's 3 income earning strategies. You call it money 1, money 2, and money 3. Now, if you're going to teach this to your children, you want to make sure that you teach them number 3, because it's the only one that really works. Unfortunately, 96% of the population follow M1. This is where people trade their time for money. Now, I don't care how much you're charging for your time. If you're working on that concept, there's a problem. It's called saturation. You run out of time. That's where 96% of the population work. That's where I was working when I changed. M2 is a good strategy. It's only used by 3% of the population, and for very good reason. This is where people invest money to earn money, and not too many have any to invest. M3 is something I stumbled on
No offense, but if you still think stocks, real estate, or crypto are the best passive income investments in today's economy, I'm sorry, but you've got it wrong.
And I didn't understand it.
These ads be getting me, y'all.
Didn't know I had. It's only used by 1% of the population, but they earn 96% of all the money.
Jeez.
Now, these people multiply their time by setting up multiple sources of income.
They multiply their time.
Now, I was doing this, but I didn't know what I was doing. I was unaware of what happened inside of me. Now look here for a moment. Our world is changing. It's changing at a very rapid clip. Most people don't understand what's going on. Right now, you know the world is in a chaotic state. But out of all chaos comes order. And it'll be a higher degree of order than that which existed prior to the chaos. But our world is changing. It's not getting bigger. Our world is getting smaller. It's actually shrinking. We're only hours away from anywhere in the world now. You can have business in multiple locations today. Now, I was doing this back in 1961, 65. And I was in harmony with the money frequency, but I didn't know that I was. And I was setting up sources of income. I had money coming to me from different places. I was earning money 24 hours a day. I was earning money while I was sleeping. And you know something? Anyone can do this. I didn't even understand what I was doing. This is what we call multiple sources of income. Let me give you an idea of just how crazy my behavior was, and yet it was producing. My brother had just come to work with me, and one day I said, why don't we get down to Atlanta and open an office? He's okay. We got on a plane. I took out a pad that I had, and I started to write down things that we had to do when we got to Atlanta. Things come to you even though you don't understand what's going on. An idea came into my mind when I got off the plane in Atlanta. I went immediately to a telephone and I phoned a real estate office. Person answered the phone, asked him what his name was, asked him what he did. He said he's an agent there. And I said, listen, I've just got in, I'm in the airport. Introduced myself. And I said, would you spend the whole day with me tomorrow if I rented an office, a 5,000 square foot office, on a long lease from you? What did you just say? I said, if I rented a 5,000 square foot office from you tomorrow, will you spend a day with me? Well, he said, I suppose I would. He said, what do you want me to do in that day? I said, I just want you to drive me around. I don't know my way around. And I had a whole list of things I had to do. We rented the office. We got the furniture. We got the phone. We enrolled in the Better Business Bureau. Everything that you had to do. We put an ad in the paper for help. Do you know, 2 weeks later, we flew back into it. Now, we flew in at 5 o'clock at night. That's when I phoned the agent. We flew out the next night at 5 o'clock. That office was all set up. Everything was done. 2 weeks later, we had a team of people in that office working. Thought nothing of that. That was just our way of working. And as we did this, we kept setting sources of income. Now, some of these grew big, and some of them didn't. But they all had one thing in common. The money from each source flew into our bank. Didn't matter what country it was, the money flowed in. Now, I was doing this, and I wasn't even aware of what I was doing. I should back up.
Millions of people suffer every day from painful discomfort and swelling, but most pain medications.
I sat down one day with someone much wiser than myself and asked me what I was doing. I said, I'm not quite sure. I said, everything's really great, but I don't know what the hell I'm doing. He had no business experience. I wasn't running it like a business. I was just doing it. And he sat down and he explained everything. That's when he explained the M1, M2, M3. And he showed me I was using this M1 method. Really? Well, when I became aware of what I was doing, all I wanted to do was teach this to other people. Tomorrow, we're going to have a lady that is doing extremely well. She's one of the people that we've taught to do what we do. She's become very wealthy in a short period of time. On Friday, I'm going to introduce you to another woman who's done extraordinarily well following this. Now, they're doing that because they're doing exactly what we tell them. You see, when you've got a system that really works, just keep duplicating it.
Yeah,
that's what we were doing.
That's the thing, though, Bob. See, you got to have a system, though, right? Did y'all hear Bob? Did y'all hear the mastermind when he said it? You need a system. I'm going to say this and then I'm going to play it again, but a lot of entrepreneurs think they have a business. They don't really have a business. They have a job. That's why they say things like, I'm working for myself. So you went from working for other people to working for yourself. But a business is a system that allows you to go wherever you are in the world and you can still be making money. Right? So notice he used the word system. We need to talk about systems. We need to talk about systems, not ideas, only systems.
We had taken the essence of this book and began to apply it. Here I am. I'm 87 years old, and I'm still reading this book every day. Why? Because I know that I can do a lot better than I'm doing. Now, not only am I doing well, the good thing about this, I have attracted phenomenal people to us. 15 years ago, when Sandy Gallagher joined our company, she changed our company like night and day. She had tremendous experience in business, securities attorney. I was shocked when she quit the law firm to come with us full time. Well, I was struggling with all this. Now I want to back up a bit. I want to explain when this first started to change. I've already explained I had no formal education. A couple of months high school. I had no business experience. I was always working at dumb jobs. In gas stations, changing tires, lubricating cars, oil and changing the oil. Always working at real low-paying jobs, working very, very hard. One day I saw an ad in the newspaper that a township, which is part of Toronto, was going to hire firefighters. Now, I knew that I wouldn't qualify to get in there. I owned no formal education. That was one thing that stopped me. I was really skinny. I was underweight. I had no business experience. I didn't even have good referrals. But there was a magistrate lived 2 doors up from my mother. That would be like a judge. And I went up and knocked on his door, and I said, Mr. Lynn, you don't know me, but my mother lives about 3 doors down from you. And I said, they're advertising for firefighters here in East York. And I was wondering if there's anything you could do to help me. Now, this is the wildest thing. I think the man was impressed that I had asked. Well, he says, come on in, son, sit down. So I stepped inside and I sat down on the sofa. And he started to ask me questions. And I said, well, just a second. He picked up the phone and he phoned the mayor. It was actually a Reeve, Bill Allen. And he said, Bill, I got a friend of mine over here who'd like you on the fire department. I understand you're hiring people. Like that, I was on the fire department. I was underweight. Had to go to the town offices to the doctor there. And the doctor was, I don't know, a very old guy. He was sitting there and he was checking me over. And he'd go over and stand on those scales. So I'd go over and stand on this weight machine. And I'm about 135 pounds. He said, what do you weigh? I said, 165. And he looked at me sort of funny and he said, well, we'll leave it at that then. Here I was on the fire department. And look, I was working 6 days a week in a gas station. 3 weeks out of the month. 1 week out of the month, I was working 7 days a week. And I was working hard for next to nothing. When I got on the fire department, I was working 7 days and 7 nights a month. When we were on the night shift, we would go in, the first thing we would do is make our bed. We all had a bed. We'd draw our sheets and we'd make our bed. Then we'd go to the kitchen maybe and make a cup of coffee, make something to eat. Then we may go and sit and watch television for a while or go play cards. And go play darts. And that's what we did. We very rarely had a fire. I was virtually retired. My income doubled when I went on that job. I was there for 4 or 5 years. No one ever quit that job, and they couldn't fire you. Here I was, I get into this book. I'm reading it in the fire hall. People are laughing at me. Oh, Proctor's going to get rich, you know. Then,
could I just pause that right quick? See, this is why I love hearing the stories of people and their wealth journey. Because the truth of the matter is, when you on your journey, most people see you as you are and not as what you are developing to be. So they laughed at him then. What Mike Jones? What did Mike Jones say? The Atlanta rapper. Back then they didn't want me. Right now they all on me. So don't give up on your dreams just because other people don't see it.
I decided I was going to quit and clean floors. Everyone thought I was right out of my mind. But you see, I had an image of doing something much bigger than cleaning floors. The image I had was where my business was a couple of years later. Here I was out washing these floors, collecting money each month. I was building a business. See, I had an image in my mind of building this company. Everybody thought I was crazy. I had quit this job. I thought, no, I'm going to have money coming in from all over the world. I was totally into what Hill was talking about. Now, my results would indicate that I wasn't studying anything because I only had a couple of offices. I had Canada Starch, that's a company, was on Comstock Road. I washed their floor twice a month. I got $15 a time for watching. Then I think I mentioned yesterday Kirby's Construction on Wick State, 65 a month. Now I'm up to 95. Then I would get another one. In the daytime, I'm out knocking on doors, selling people on the idea, let me clean their floors. And it was building up, but it was building up slowly. The people in the fire department, they actually thought I was crazy. The chief called me into his office 2 or 3 times. Said, Bob, are you sure you know what you're doing? I said, I know what I'm doing, Chief. I didn't know what I was doing. I was scared. I was really scared. But you see, I was in a position that was not a good position. I was letting somebody else dictate what I was going to do with my life. Now, it wasn't until I met this man that I really understood what had happened in depth. And he taught me in such a way that I could teach it to others. Most people that are very successful cannot articulate on why they are. They don't know why they are. And therefore, it's non-transferable. They can't give it to anybody. I've been working at this all of my adult life. I know exactly why you're getting the results you're getting. And I know exactly what you have to do if you want to change those results. I tell people all the time, if you can tell me what you want, I'll show you how to get it. Now,
Did y'all catch that? If you could tell me what you want, I could tell you how to get it. A lot of us don't know what we want. This is a mastermind right here. This
trained a lot of people all over the world to do this. And they are doing it. Val Vanderwall, when he first met me, he started to teach this to me. He was fascinated with what I had done in the cleaning business. He said, Bob, I want to show you something. And I started to understand in depth and why I was doing what I was doing, why things were working the way they're working. Now, he was the first one to teach me the laws of compensation. I want you to listen to this, and I want you to look at it very carefully. I don't know what you're working at, but I do know this. There is no end to what you can earn. If I can earn millions of dollars, you can earn millions of dollars. I set a goal in 1973. I think I've already mentioned that to you. But I sat down and I wrote out that I would build a company that operates all over the world. In March of this year, Mike our Chief Operating Officer, who you met on the introduction, she phoned me and she said, Bob, I think you'd like to know, we just went into every country in the world. Now, here I am learning the laws of compensation. You want to remember these. The law of compensation clearly states that the amount of money you earn will always be in an exact ratio to the need for what you do, your ability to do it, and the difficulty there is to replace you. Now, I want you to think of this. With respect to the work we do.
I'm going to pause that. For all of my people that's going to watch on the replay, you need to write this down. I'm just going to take a second, and this needs to be written down. Need for what you do. Need for what you do. Ability to do it. Difficulty in replacing you. You know, because I remember I was, talking to someone and they're like, yeah, I don't know why they pay these basketball players all that and we don't pay scientists half as much. And I'm sitting here like, yeah, but there's millions of people that are watching that basketball game. It's harder to replace LeBron James than it is to replace that scientist. So you can get mad at what you feel is the moral story there, but the point is, yeah.
Here at the Proctor Gallagher Institute.
Do something that's hard to do.
Is there a need for what we do?
Is there a need?
Well, all over the world, people are lost. They're not quite sure of how to make things happen. They're not quite sure of how to start multiplying their income. They don't even believe they can, most of them. We know how to teach people how to do this. There's a phenomenal need for what we do everywhere. I was mentioning Kota Kinabalu. I was mentioning because it's one of the most beautiful places I've ever been. But I've worked all over the world. I've worked out through Asia, into Russia, all through North America, all over South America, throughout Europe. Everywhere you go, there's a need for what we do. Then it's our ability to do it. Well, I tell people that become consultants in our company, study this every day. Study it every day. You want to develop your ability in replacing you. If you have really developed your ability to do something very well, you're going to be very difficult to replace. If you're difficult to replace, your stock goes up. Now, this is all part of finding the money frequency. It's all part of it. You see, what we're doing is we're bringing ourselves up. And when we do, everything goes up.
Navan's business travel platform? It completely
bringing
ruined my
yourself
life.
up.
You see, I've been in the great
As
policy.
we go up, everything else goes up.
What do we want to focus on?
Nothing can stop me. I'm all the way up. Yeah.
Just one part of it. The second part, your ability to do it. Develop your ability to. That happened to me, 1966. I've already mentioned this to you. I know I have.
Get me with these dates.
But I was sitting in Earl Nightingale's office. Earl Nightingale was like God in my mind. Every time he spoke, there was such wisdom come out of the man. And I'm sitting in his office, and I was getting ready to leave. And I said, Earl, what's the big deal? I mean, what the heck is the secret here? He said, well, there isn't any secret, Bob. He said, it's a simple matter of sitting down and deciding what you really want to do and then dedicate your life to it. He said, everybody loves doing something. He said, figure out what it is you love doing and dedicate your life to it. At that moment, I hadn't even left the office. I started to get excited. I was getting so excited because I knew exactly what I wanted to do. He said, see, most people have no idea what they want to do. I knew exactly what I wanted to do what he was doing. And as I showed you, 5 years later, I was his vice president of sales. I did exactly what they told me. See, the trick is find somebody who's very good at what they're doing and then take direction from them. It's so simple. Now let's go back. We've gone through this once, but I want you to go through it again. I want you to clearly understand this. It's so important. See, the mind covers everything. It really does. You've got the mind is broken into two parts. You have the conscious, educated mind, and there's the emotional, universal mind. You know, the universal mind, it's everywhere. And there's the body. The body, of course, moves into action and produces results. Now, results are everything. Results tell the truth. You can sugarcoat all kinds of things, but results tell the truth. Now, we all owe a lot to a man named Dr. Thurman Fleet. So let's look at the mind and look at paradigms. Your mind and your paradigm. Now, I mentioned this before, but I'm going through it again because I want you to remember it. And it's the repetition that works. Truman Fleet was very involved in the healing arts and holistic health. He stated the mind is an activity, it's not a thing. No one has ever seen the mind. No one has ever seen the mind. If a person has mental problems, how do you help them?
The mind is not a thing, it's an activity. That's deep.
You know, there's a page
I ain't gonna lie.
in The Science of Getting Rich, a great book. It's on page number 7. It's chapter 7. And on the first page, it's on gratitude. He said the entire process of adjustment and atonement can be summed up in one word: gratitude. If a person's having mental problems, if they would sit down and look at all they have to be grateful for, if a person's unhappy, if they just sit down and look at what they're grateful for, Now, you cannot see your mind, but you can see the results of the mind. In order to gain clarity and eliminate confusion, he said he was going to create a picture of the mind, and he did. And then he gave it to us, conscious, subconscious, and body. Now, I've pointed out many times this is the most valuable idea I've ever learned. Now, you've only heard me go through this twice. I'm doing it twice. There's something very big in here most people miss. Your conscious, your subconscious, and your body. Your conscious mind is your thinking mind. It's your educated mind. It's where your intellect is. The subconscious is your emotional mind. And you want to remember that. Subconscious is where your intellect. Now, the conscious mind has the ability to originate. In other words, if there's something you don't like, you can reject it and you can go ahead and originate it. Now, in the emotional mind, it must accept everything you give to it. It has no ability to give it away. The subconscious mind must accept everything you give to it. It has no ability to reject. Now, I want you to think of this. The subconscious mind cannot differentiate between what's real and what's imagined. This is absolutely incredible that we understand this. When you get emotionally involved in an idea, your subconscious mind accepts that as real. That's what I had done. I got emotionally involved. Every time, it gets me every time I think of it. I got emotionally involved with the business, and I was acting like the person I wanted to become. I was acting as if the business was already built. That's exactly what they tell you to do in this book. Act like the person you want to become. Now let's look here. We said the conscious mind has the ability to accept or reject. I want you to think of all the nonsense that's coming to you through social media, from other people, through Netflix, podcasts.
Not Netflix. Not maybe Hulu, Prime, not Netflix. Yeah, but it's the truth.
This information is flowing into your conscious mind. Now, you have the ability to reject all of that information. You can just say, get out of here, and it'll go away. But you want to know what 90-some% of the population do? They don't reject it. Watch what they do. They leave their mind wide open. Because they're not thinking, and it goes directly into their subconscious mind. And the subconscious mind can't differentiate between what's real and what's imagined.
That's why you shouldn't be listening to TV when you're way to sleep. Because you sleep, you don't know what's coming in your subconscious. This is why music is so powerful, because I believe that there are things that people say in music we would never listen to if it was just being said. But you hear the beat and you're bobbing along, and the words just slip right past the thinking mind, right into the subconscious. This is powerful. Anybody that has ever gone to sleep around a large group of people and you've had a dream, and that dream somehow incorporated the words of people, of the things that they were saying while you were asleep, you know what I'm talking about. Like, this is how powerful the subconscious is. That, it's
So all kinds of bad news goes in there and puts you in a bad vibration.
Yeah, a bad vibration.
Why would a person do that? It's because of their paradigm. They're actually programmed to do it. That's where their program is operating.
It's the program.
Now stay with me for a moment.
I'm with you, Bob.
Let's close the window on that.
It's the program.
And let's take a look at a person when they're a baby. Here's a person as an infant. Their subconscious mind is wide open, so everything that's going on around that person is going right into their subconscious mind. You are a product of somebody else's way of thinking.
I gotta stop right there. That's deep, sir. You are a product of somebody else's thinking. Whoa.
You're a product of the past.
You're a product.
Everything that's gone into your subconscious mind has become your program. Now, I want you to think of this. The paradigm controls us. You have to ask yourself, why? Why would we do it? Because other people are doing it. We already have the knowledge and the power to accomplish most anything we want.
The Matrix.
However, we have not developed a clear understanding of how paradigms are formed or how they control our habitual behavior. You see, people automatically move into action. Study anyone, and you'll find their behavior is habitual. Therefore, we frequently do not do what we already know how to do. We've got the knowledge of how to do the job better, but we're not doing it. Superior knowledge, inferior results, and that causes confusion and frustration. Now think, a person's absolutely brilliant. They may come out with a master's in business administration, all kinds of different degrees. The results they're getting are terrible. Let's put our drawing up here and take a look at it from a different perspective. Here's the individual. They've got all this knowledge in their consciousness. They've passed the exams, they've got the degrees. But if you look at their results, you think they never went to school.
Yeah.
You're wondering what's stopping these? Why are these people operating this way? Why are they getting those results? Well, they're getting the results because the knowledge is not controlling them. The paradigm is controlling them.
That's different.
Their own intellect isn't controlling them. Their paradigm.
The paradigm. The program.
Too bad.
The freaking program.
Until they change the paradigm, get a new paradigm, they're not going to change the results. Now, this is rather sad, but this is the way most people live.
A paradigm is a mental program that has almost exclusive control over our habitual behavior. That's scary. That's scary. That's scary that it is a program. This
paradigm control their whole life.
It's a mental program.
It's a mental program that has almost exclusive control over our habitual behavior. Now look at this.
And
almost all of our behavior is habitual.
And almost all of our behavior is habitual.
You're being controlled by a paradigm. So am I. What I did way back in 1961, it changed my paradigm. It had nothing to do with my level of intellect. I didn't have to have any great degrees. I could go out and I could build a business. And I did. It operated in a number of different cities and a number of different countries. I didn't have to have any degree to do that. I just had to get a picture of what I wanted to do in my mind, and if I could get the picture, then I'd go and do it. Well, you can do exactly the same thing. These higher faculties are so important. You
perception, imagination.
This is where Val Vanderwall really changed my life. You've got to ask yourself, how much do I know about each one of these higher faculties? Because this is what separates you from all of the rest of the animal kingdom. Do you know that all the little animals that are running around are completely at home in their environment? Completely at home in their environment. You and I are totally disoriented in our environment. Now think. That's because we've been given the ability to create our own environment. We're not doing it. We're not doing it. We're not developing these higher faculties. Now, that's rather sad. That's the way people live. They go by what they see, hear, smell, taste, and touch. They want to start using these higher faculties. It makes a lot of difference. Look here for a moment. There's the conscious mind. That's where our wants are. What do you really want? That is so important that you know exactly what you want. Then you want to take and impress your wants upon your subconscious mind. Your subconscious mind is universal intelligence. And when that want is impressed upon universal intelligence, it turns into a desire.
Yeah.
Desire is the effort of the unexpressed possibility within, seeking expression without through your action.
I just want to say this, right? Bob talks a lot about conscious versus subconscious mind, programs, paradigms, wants versus desires. He is a guru at this, and he talks a lot about this.
When you want something, if you keep thinking, keep getting emotionally involved, it turns into a desire. That is what's going to move this body into action.
A desire.
And that's what's going to cause you to get whatever it is you want.
Y'all catch that? He fleshes this out in other videos and other seminars, that we don't get what we want, we get what we desire. Which is like deep, because this image really helps to see that he's not just using semantics, that the want is where it lives kind of in our intellect, whereas the desire is on a deeper level. Your body really responds to desire. I mean, even on a physical
Your body is the instrument of the mind.
The body is the instrument.
And you're
of the
quite
mind.
capable of getting anything you want. Now, I was thinking earlier that I would maybe have about 5 minutes, maybe one or two questions that I'd field. We're going to have total Q&A on Friday. But we're getting into stuff here, and I was thinking just as I was doing this.
No offense, but if you still think stocks, real estate, or crypto are the best passive income investments into...
Okay. All right. So we'll pick this up later. I hope you learned something. I mean, Bob's an amazing person. So thank you everyone for joining on my first live Twitch, but also for those who joined on the other platforms, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube Live. I will be here very often. And the two things that I will be focusing on when you see me on these streams, money and law. So my degree is in law, so I'll absolutely be putting up some cases, and we'll go through those in real time. But the other bit of what I want to talk a lot about is ways to build wealth, speaking with masterminds, hearing from masterminds, interviewing masterminds. This is like my world. I believe that the journey to great wealth is as much a journey of personal development, self-awareness, and becoming a better self as it is anything on the outside, which is why I'm so big on it. All right, y'all. Much love to you all. Thanks for listening. Daryl J. Bennett. You can find me on any of the platforms, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, at Daryl J. Bennett.